7 days out from the Olympia here at Home Gym Muscle Factory in San Antonio, Texas. This will be my final leg day. We're going to take you through it. We're not going to hold back. Hell no. 7 days out, we're going hard. Okay, we might dial it back just a hair. But walk you through the workout, give you my updates, and tell you what the plan is heading into this next peak week. So this session, it's one that I've been doing for a while now. I do start with a dumbbell lateral raise so I can get 3 days a week some stimulus to side delts. I realized on a past prep when I started backing off and just doing delts, side delts twice a week, my delts were actually not looking as round. So this prep, I've had them in for 3 days, 4 sets, so 12 sets for the week. And I go back and forth between that and leg extension as I warm up my quads. So I'll complete the work sets on side delts, and then I'll be able to start hitting my work sets on quads. And it's not taxing either, so it doesn't take anything away from my leg work. So we'll start there. What you see me do, like just prep-wise for legs, is go through like 90-90s. So it helps just gain some range of motion for internal, external rotation of the hip, which during your squat, you need a lot of internal rotation of the hip. And then what I do is walking lunges just to start taking myself through that position where what I'm trying to do is almost walk in a straight line, like if I had a piece of tape on the ground, and I'm cueing the inside of my foot to really put big pressure down, and that cues internal rotation of the hip. So in your squat, that's what you're trying to cue when you're doing your squat, is like big toe down, get good hip internal rotation. So I've gone through like a mobilization and now taking it through ranges I'm going to use for the day. Also that back leg, I'm also trying to keep it internally rotated as well. So everything's trying to stay in a straight line. But your walking lunge is a great assessment tool to see how people might differentiate and not have as much range in one hip versus the other. That's when you'll see someone like hip shift, because they might not have good internal rotation in one hip, so they shift away from it. So you might see the hips jump to one side. So it can help give you some assessment of what you might need to addressing in your prep work beforehand. Hitting 3 sets on leg extension, around 15 reps. I think a cool thing to look at is a lot of guys in their leg extension, hips want to externally rotate. What happens? For one, you're loading the knee laterally a bit. You might hit more VMO, but you need internal rotation to keep this knee pointing up and into the pad, but also it'll help put a slight more bias into your lateralis, your quad sweep. So you'll see, like, I try to really intentionally stay internally rotated, but it's also why I do that prehab work, so I can keep in this position easier, but also keep that stimulus in my quad sweep. It's my training day with Renee, my workout partner. There's 2 Johns today.
I have 2 Johns. It's like a threesome.
I'm not as pretentious that way when she wears the shirt.
You should have worn my shirt.
Yeah, who's not pretentious? So normal leg extension already loads really heavy in the short position. So when you lock out, and we know stretch mediated or like in longer muscle links, you might get a little bit more stimulus. So prime's cool because you can load more in the beginning or mid-range, which for you're training your rec fem, it's actually where you get the most out of it in this position. I also keep my seat pretty far back, so I'm in a little bit more hip extension, which lengthens out that middle part of your quad. So that's why I load it that way. Get more load and lengthen, and also hit more of the rec fem. Yeah, I'll go again. Project open. I made that in 2017 to go open. Now it finally happened. Like that leg? Stanky leg? I slept like shit last night. Or Logan was like barking, and like it had to be like 3 in the morning. Well, I have a noise machine and earplugs. I still woke up, and after that, it's like real scattered. But this this session will be dialed back. I have 3 rest days next week compared to what I've been training 6 days a week, so should easily drop off some fatigue. I'll start seeing sleep improve, and also like not training legs twice a week by like day 4 or 5. This like film of water I've had on my legs will finally start pulling off. See a lot more detail come through. I look forward to that. One thing with being an enhanced bodybuilder and sleep and the brain is like really a big concern long term, is potentially increase of inflammation, oxidative stress in the brain, might have increase of beta amyloid deposition, which is what you get when you're having like progression of dementia. I've been using high dose melatonin, which melatonin is a pretty specific antioxidant for the brain and may prevent some of that beta amyloid deposition and improve like cognitive function. So, but there's research in like dementia patients use very high dosages. So last night I've been using like 40 milligrams of melatonin. People are going even higher than that. But if you're enhanced, I would almost say it's an essential thing for prevention and long-term brain health to utilize it. Helps you go to sleep fast, but doesn't keep you asleep for too long. So easy day. Where I did leg extension. Now moving on to Roger's squat. So I was rotating between the pendulum, but man, the pendulum was causing a pretty heavy fatigue load. So I've been sticking with the Roger squat. Usually doing 3 sets here, and that wraps up the quad work for the day. I'm gonna dial back to 2 sets. Probably leave like 1 rep in the tank, as this is the one that would beat me up the most. So today, I'm not definitely not necessarily growing anymore here. We're just trying to like maintain tissue and not also get injured. This is last leg day. Train hard, but also smart. So physique-wise, pretty much this entire week has been maintaining just this look. It's ready. I wake up anywhere between like 234.4 to 235.2. 2 meals and fluids, and you'll probably see my posing somewhere around here. I look dead on like I could walk on stage, like super happy with the look. So when you're ready ahead, and I've already had food higher because I'm on 530 grams of carbs a day, 50 grams of fat, and 330 grams of protein. So I'm already relatively fairly full. I'm not going to need to carb load. And I already know like where a good look is for me on stage. So it's almost for me at this point, it keeps my peak week very, very simple and repeatable, predictable. So I know 2 meals in, X amount of fluid, I could land that on stage. All I need to do on show day is once I get to that look of like this, it's kind of like 235, 236, is just hold that all the way to the night show. We're just reducing fluids a little bit, so it keeps it pretty simple. There's no cardio in place right now either. I'm just doing 10,000 steps a day. And so that'll taper down a little bit in a peak week to 8,000. Posing, I have 2 10-minute sessions. I'll taper that down in the peak week. So everything's going, like the big part of peak week for me is dropping off fatigue. The diet just pretty much stays the same. And then I already know my look, land that on stage. Easy as that. So I say. Looking back at my pics from Legion, my first open show was in October as well, October 7th last year. So it's been right at a year. 7 days out, I was waking up at 221. And now waking up at 235. So a ton of progress. It's so cool to see. And condition looks better being bigger, even though body fat's probably about the same. So it's exciting knowing that you've already improved. That's already like a big win out of it. So just I've said this before, but like just to get on stage and know I nailed like an all-time best is really all I want. The outcomes will be the outcomes. Even if you're 16th, last place, you're still top 16 in the world. On prep, especially in a peak week, I really like watching like true sports movies or based on true stories, or even sports docs. Just keeps you like good positive mindset, and also just inspiring like what other athletes do and how you can translate that mindset into bodybuilding. Watched Netflix has a good series. It's like, I call it Uncut, but it's not, that's not the name of it. It's like Uncovered, but Swamp Kings by Florida State University, their football program, like one of the best in the countries. Those guys fucking murdered it, like trained so hard. and hungry, man. Like, so hungry to succeed. Like, that's how I feel like you need to be for bodybuilding, and so many people lack it. Like, to be that hungry, willing to do what it takes, not take what it takes, but do all the hard shit. The rounds of posing, the routine, not letting little snack foods come in. Like, you're accountable for yourself. Like, I don't know, that's why I find it's really cool to see other sports teams and how coaches are like push their athletes hard. And there's a lot of bodybuilding coaches, not to take anything away from them, but I think since we're getting paid, you kind of have to like baby to some clients. But man, if you want a pro card, like you need a coach that's going to push you to another level. Watch the show, Swamp Kings on Netflix. Yeah, training into peak week, it shouldn't be the same necessarily for everyone. There needs to be an assessment of what is the fatigue level of the athlete going into the week. If you had someone that was like just ready on time and they had to dig for fat loss the whole time, they're going to need a bigger fatigue drop, in turn more dialed back training right in the beginning of peak week. Someone like me that's been ready ahead, we've already done the leg work of dropping off fatigue, so training can relatively look about the same throughout peak week. So where you're at in your prep determines what you should be doing training in a peak week. It's not just an XY protocol that should be given out for everybody. I survived the squat. Injury-free prep. What's up, guys? What's up, man? All right, so quad work is done. Moving on to hamstring work. So start with a seated ham curl. Just doing 3 sets here. Stay in the 12 to 15 rep range. My legs are already warm. I can jump straight into a work set from here. A few helpful tips on this is as you're driving the heel down, drive your knee up into the pad. It'll really help keep you from trying to like go into hip extension and keep the hips from rotating around. Also, keep a little bit of arch in your lower back. The hamstrings are trying to pull the pelvis downward, so you actually need to contract the erectors to stabilize the pelvis. You see some people leaning forward in their leg curl. What creates instability for your erectors to be able to brace that hip, and so it doesn't actually lengthen up the hamstrings more. It actually just able you to not output as much force with the hamstrings. So keeping that little bit of arch in your lower back, but bracing it, like pushing that kind of lumbar thoracic area into the back pad. That's where you'll get your best brace for a seated leg curl. I superset microwaving my post-workout meal while I train the rest of the time. My cream of rice takes like, you know how it is. 3 minutes mix, a minute mix, minute mix. 10 minutes later, we have cooked cream of rice. What, do you listen to that new song? Renee and I are like 2 weeks, was it 2 weeks after the Olympia? I think we're going to our first concert ever, nearly being 40 years old. It's Korn and Spirit Box and Gojira. So we're like the row right before the mosh pit. So it should be fucking wicked. But we've been listening to their albums, so that's what we're jamming to.
We're getting crying.
Go 4 minutes cook time, mix, then a minute, mix, then 45 seconds mix, then in 30 seconds mix, and it's ready. Yeah, it's a process. If you've done prep, you know how weird we are with cooking and perfecting. It must be perfect, or you ruin your day, right? You have to make it like molten lava first. Then you can't eat it, you gotta let it cool down. I always Tupperware like sick for travel, because whenever I go like Airbnb, they always have little baby bowls, so this is like my perfect bowl. It's collapsible, so it's easy to travel with too. Got it on Amazon.
Listen, man, good luck at the Open.
Yeah, thanks,
You're
Adam.
awesome, man.
Nice to
Good
meet
stuff.
you.
I'll see you around shortly.
All right, last exercise of the day will be dumbbell RDL. Just have 2 sets here. Keep these slow, controlled. I can do these at the end of the session because I am not overly fatigued, and I do keep these pretty strict. It requires a lot of internal bracing, but it hasn't been a problem. So I've kept them in all prep. Workout's done. Now the cream of rice is done. Perfect. You know your cream of rice is done when it starts like sticking, and as you're stirring, you'll see like gaps. That's when it's perfect. Well, that finishes off the last leg workout. The next video you get from me, I'll be in Vegas. And it's the last time I was in Vegas at Olympia was actually my first Olympia in 2019. Ever since it was in Florida, so it's cool. It's nostalgic for me to get back, but it's also a different experience too. And my first Olympia, honestly, it felt unexpected. And just to go out there and walk on stage was an honor, in that I knew many might never get able to step on stage, so that was always my perspective. I didn't know if this Open Olympia would happen for me again, so I feel like in a very similar mindset of just grateful and honored just to be going back, as it's a moment that not many will get, a moment that I might never get again, so I treat it like one. Like it's so precious to me. So every day out there in Vegas, every experience, meeting everybody, will just be cherished. So that's why I do these videos, so I can look back on them and hold on to these memories. So there's really no expectations outside of me executing and delivering my best on stage. And enjoying every minute. I'm going to have a blast out there. And thank all of you for tuning in this far into prep. And we'll see you in the next video.